All right. Hey, everyone. Welcome to Friday and another edition of the Legal Case Management Jam Session. I'm back here with Casita Simpson. Always fun to chat with her. Casita is the founder CEO of Simpson Associates. She's helped many law firms set up and select and set up the technology at their firm. So she's got a lot of experience setting up legal case management systems, CRM, intake systems. And so, what better topic to cover with her today than the topic of setting up no code workflows in your legal case management or CRM software? So, many software systems are now coming out with these kind of no code workflows that allow you to automate processes, send communication based on certain triggers. And so there's a lot of opportunity to kind of optimize processes at your firm. And Casita is in the trenches doing this for firms. So I'm excited to hear some of her kind of best practices and what she recommends for firms who are looking to increase the automation at their firm. So Casita, I'll turn it over to you, and maybe you could just talk kind of big picture about how should law firms be thinking about these no code workflows and setting them up.
Yeah, I think that it should be considered as like a help, right? At the end of the day, this is something that is going to allow you to save some time. It's going to allow you to be in a position to empower your team to probably even do more things. And it just puts you in a position of not having to do the same repeated tasks over and over again, the same administrative functions over and over again. We can work to make sure that the workflows are working for you as opposed to even something as simple as like a new lead coming in, filling out a contact form. That automatic email that they receive is something that can definitely be automated. And it helps because now you're not having a staff member pay attention to every time a lead comes into the system to send them an email. It makes it easier to screen because based on the contact form, you're going to put in different things that you would want the consumer to answer to be able to make that educated decision as to whether this client is going to be a great fit for your firm, or if you could even help them with whatever services they're looking into moving forward with, right? And so sending out an automatic email, having them book time on your calendar. Once you're working on the file, sending status updates depending on whatever the trigger is. If you're in litigation and you know that you just had a hearing and the hearing went well, putting a trigger in place to be able to send out an automatic email saying, hearing went well, there are no updates, here are the next steps of what to expect. Anything that is done repeatedly, especially from a client facing side that would save you time, but also still have the client feel like you're checking in with them and they're a part of the case and a part of the journey is something that you're going to want to create a workflow for and try to automate. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
hmm
What would you say to the firm that's maybe nervous about setting up some of these automations? They're worried that it won't sound personal, or they're just kind of worried that some of these workflows maybe would get triggered by mistake. What would you say to the cautious firm who's, hasn't yet invested because they're nervous about automating some of these tasks?
Yeah. You've said two really interesting things. One of them being that how do you get started? And I think that to get started, it's a matter of just figuring out what is the most difficult thing that's taking you time that you're always like, I want to get to this, I want to get to this, and you can't. That would probably be a great area to start. And then honestly, when it comes to the language itself, you're already doing it. You're already talking to these clients. You are already having a natural way that you communicate with your clients on a day-to-day basis. Take that same language and turn it into a template. And then you won't have to worry about it not sounding like you or not being warm. And depending on the system that you're using, they do have AI internally built into the system that will help you to even highlight the tone and make it more warm if you feel like your emails are not as warm. So if you're already sending out communications to clients for different things, take that same language, turn it into a template, and reuse that same thing over and over again because those templates can then be taken and put right into the workflow. So it is matching your exact language because it's coming from you. And even if not, you're not the one implementing it, that's completely fine. You give them the templates that you want them to use. And if you don't have any and you don't really like the way that you communicate or you want to make it better, you want to spruce it up, then I challenge you to speak with the person who's assisting you with implementing, or if you're implementing yourself, get with a program that assists with helping you write so that you can make sure that it has that warm tone or that professional tone, or maybe something a little bit more friendly or humorous or something along those lines.
Yeah. And because you're going to reuse it, hundreds or thousands of times, you can invest more in crafting. I always feel better about spending a lot of time crafting kind of the perfect template as opposed to spending a lot of time crafting the perfect email that will just get used once. So
Mhm.
I like that idea of thinking about how you invest your time and being able to invest more in these automated emails than you would maybe in a one-off. I heard a really interesting strategy too from a firm. I can't remember which one it was, so I'm unfortunately not going to be able to give them credit. But
Mhm.
they were just really upfront about what emails were automated and which ones weren't. And I think they even said in the email to start out, "Hey, this is an automated email, but everything in it is, has been thought out and." It doesn't make it any less true is basically I'm butchering how they actually say it, but
Right.
this is what they were just very upfront.
Yeah.
And I really liked the idea as well. I'm not trying to trick you into thinking that this is a personalized email when it isn't, but that doesn't mean the information in it isn't valuable and
Right.
designed perfectly for this moment in our interaction.
Right. And while the email itself is automated, the information within it is not. This
Mm-hmm.
was curated and thought about probably laboriously for a while to make it just sound perfect for this specific situation. So
Mm-hmm.
the information and the delivery of what's being presented is still from the owner's thought or from the attorney's thought, or
Mm-hmm.
whoever's working on it. It's just that the system is being used to make sure that it's being sent
Yeah.
timely.
Yeah. Well, let's go to the other end of the spectrum. Let's go to maybe the overzealous firm that has gotten excited about these no code workflows, or maybe just had access to them for a really long time. And
Mhm.
they've created this amazing spaghetti web of automation that maybe they're even, they're afraid to touch it because something will break, or it's just way too complicated. And so they're kind of like losing track of what's firing when and all of that. How, speak to that firm and what should they be thinking about?
I call them spiderweb workflows. That's what I call them. I call them spiderweb workflows in a sense of like you are it's like a long tree of logic condition things that it's doing a bunch of different things at the same time. It's like, I don't even know. No one knows where this thing started and no one knows where it's ending. And half the time, we don't even know where the goal is. I literally had a recent situation that was kind of like this. There was a a spider web full of just different things going on. And I went in and I was like, oh, okay, we A for effort for trying to get it to be the way that you want it to be and thinking it through like that. Amazing. I love it. However, if something breaks, it's impossible to fix. If someone doesn't get an email or communication or whatever the case is, it's very problematic. So I would say when you've spent time, a lot of time, I know it was a labor of love trying to get this workflow to be everything that you want it to be, take a step back and just say, what is the goal here? What's the goal of this workflow? What is the intent of this? And if this web of things doesn't get to that goal in maybe 10, maybe 15 steps,
Mm-hmm.
abort ship, start over. Not even start over, but just deconstruct it,
Mm-hmm.
separate it. Take the time to say, okay, well, if I'm trying to say that the goal is to be able to send out this retainer agreement and invoice, then let's make that the goal. Okay, I have many different types of matters that would require some different types of retainers. That's fine too. We can set it up with entry rules. We can set it up with exit rules. We can set it up with certain triggers. So if someone completes us or answers a certain question within an intake form, it then sets the system up to say, okay, well, we're focusing on this kind of practice area. And then you have multiple workflows that are very similar, but they focus on very different practice areas instead of one long major workflow that has all of it. Because chances are, if something updates, because systems do update, you're in trouble. Let's say, for example, something in the workflow has a kink. There's the system does some type of maintenance, for example, and with doing the maintenance, it makes a change. It doesn't do the same thing that it's supposed to do. You're still in trouble because how do you fix it? If you have a workflow that's 60 something steps, it's not even worth it. Especially if it has like logic conditioning and multiple paths. No, it's not. We're not doing it. It doesn't set the firm up for success because if there comes a time where you just need to tweak an email, something as simple as that, or maybe you change the process and you're not doing hourly retainers anymore. You're only doing flat fee. How do you fix that if they're all in one workflow?
Yeah, interesting. Interesting. So talk to us about the firm that's sitting down and getting started. Maybe they're creating their first workflow ever, or maybe they have created a few, but they're sitting down to kind of start thinking about automating a particular process. Like what are some of the kind of principles of creating that no code workflow that you'd want to make sure that the firm is doing when they're creating those workflows?
I think that it's important to think about what is your process, what is the goal, and what triggers can you create to make that possible, right? So if your process is to, after you have the consultation with the prospect, to then send them the retainer agreement and invoice, okay, how many retainers do you have? How many types and variations do you have? How many different invoices would need to be sent out? Is it always going to be flat fee? Is there a trust retainer type of invoice that would need to be sent out? Getting to the bottom of what those things are and what the process is for that. And then from there saying, okay, what triggers is going to make this come to life? What triggers is going to make it possible so that I can complete this specific task and or goal, right? What's the goal? How do I get to this goal with these triggers? I think that those two things really help you start to put things down. And it doesn't hurt to just start with writing it on paper and having it on paper or having it electronically and just really sitting down and saying, okay, these are the things that we're going to focus on. And this is the goal. And the process is this. Okay, now let's go ahead and create the workflow and start off simple. The beauty of these workflows is that they can build on each other. You don't have to do it all in one. You can have one that's based on sending out the retainer, another one that's based on sending out the invoice. You could have another one that is based on, okay, once the person pays, let's convert it to a matter. Once the matter is converted, okay, what are we doing now? Are we sending out an email to the client to say, here's your intake form, let's get to business? What is your process? Because with every process, we can then create an additional workflow and another workflow to make sure that those processes are being followed from A to Z. And it's going to come down to what repeated tasks, what repeated functions are you doing daily that would be in your best interest to offload with a workflow, to automate, because that's going to save you time. On average, with helping the firms, consulting and helping them implement different workflows, on average, we've seen anywhere from 3 to 5 hours a day of time saved a day, because you have to think about it. Every single workflow that we're creating is to save the attorney or some of the staff members time. We're talking about sending out retainers, sending out invoices. We're talking about nurturing leads. We're talking about sending status updates to clients. We're talking about internal tasks to the attorney and to the staff members that's now all being done through automations and workflows. And not only does it save time, but it also keeps people organized because these tasks kind of function as a checklist, right? So instead of saying, did you do this? Did you do that? What about this? What about that? As soon as a certain matter is set up and converted, and let's say for litigation, okay, what are all the steps that need to be, that a paralegal would need to do for opening a pre-suit? What does that look like? let's make sure that those tasks are part of this automation, of any automation really, so that the paralegal knows exactly what's done. And as she's checking them off or he's checking them off, you're being notified that's being completed and that triggers something for you. Or even better, we're setting up subtasks to say, once this person completes this task, this person's gonna, the owner of the particular matter or whoever is handling that case is going to now receive a separate task saying, hey, Mary or Bob just finished this task. It's time for you to review it.
Hmm.
That's how we're creating functions to make sure that the firm is staying organized and everyone is staying on top of what actually needs to be done within their firm. And the workflows are just there to help. Think of it as a hero product. Think of it as something that is highlighting and benefiting your firm on a day-to-day basis. I just said it, like we're literally talking about saving an average of 3 hours a day. And I only scratch the surface with some of the functions that can be automated through workflows.
Yeah. 3 hours a day. That's pretty significant. So what's your kind of opinion? Like, where should these live? Should they live kind of in the main kind of case management software that the firm's using, the CRM system? Maybe do they live outside in a specific no code workflow tool like Zapier, or maybe like mix and match? What's your opinion on that?
I'm always the proponent for using every single nook and cranny piece of a CRM. Like you should be using 80% of your system. Like that's why you're paying for it. You're paying top dollar for this practice management system. So we're first going to make sure that we're using every single resource, feature, tool that's accessible to us within the CRM. And
Mhm.
that's something that I push heavily when I'm consulting because you're spending that money already. Zapier is an amazing resource and it's an amazing tool, but you're spending extra dollars for that. That's a separate cost that you're now spending. Let's make sure that the CRM can do all the things first. And if it can't, then we might be having a conversation of switching systems because while having something like Zapier is cool, if there's ever an instance where something is broken down, you're now having to also find it if it's broken down within Zapier. I use Zapier often, but I pick and choose. I'm very choosy about when I solicit the help of a third party integration. So my answer, long winded, is try to use the CRM as much as possible. And a lot of the systems out there, with an exception of maybe like one or two, can handle workflows, can handle automating things very robustly, down to the simplest thing. I mean, you could take the contact us form that you create as an intake form inside of Locus and embed that in your website. You could do the same thing with Lawmatics. You can embed it into your website. I think you could even do it with Cosmolex. You could embed it into your website so that way the triggers are starting like right away. Someone goes to your website, it's starting right away. So why not have the workflows inside of the system? I
Mhm.
mean, you even have the luxury of even some systems being compatible with your virtual assistant, your virtual receptionist that's taking the calls for you. I said assistant, but I really mean receptionist that's taking the calls for you. You can have them partner up already internally integrated with your system to even make it better for you to start identifying where these workflows are gonna, what they're gonna look like and where they're gonna live. But they should live inside of your practice management system. If you can't use it, like you have only basic workflows accessible to you, then yeah, I would recommend Zapier because if that may be the cheaper option than transitioning to a
Mhm.
whole system entirely. One thing I will add too is that when it comes to really just putting things together, you just have to think about what you want done. What do you want done and how do you want the system to have you have it done? And if there's limitations, then you're probably leading more towards a Zapier or a transition or something of the sort.
Got it. Got it. And you mentioned a few case management and CRM systems, but let's get specific. What are some of your favorite in the legal tech space?
It's so funny. I was at a event recently and they asked me the same question. And if y'all don't already know, I really love Locus. Like I really do love Locus. Like I know that I probably say this every single time we meet, but I really do like the platform. And if for nothing else, it's the team that supports Locus. It's the way that you can, have access whenever you're having trouble or anything like that. But if it's not even for that, the pricing, it's budget friendly. If I had to say another system, I would say that it would definitely be Lawmatics, because there's just so much that you can do with Lawmatics, and it's a really, really, really robust system. If we're talking about leads and doing things like that, you need to pair this up with another system. But HubSpot is something that I've fell in love with more recently too, because of some of the things that you can do and how customizable it is. It's pretty insane how many things you can do inside of HubSpot. I've been touring Cosmolex, so I have to say that I like that system too. I'm working on touring some other systems, so I may have a new top favorite that takes the place of Locus and Lawmatics, because those are like my top two, but to be continued. I'm working on doing some demos and doing some testing of some other practice management systems. So the next time we meet, I may tell you, oh, I love this one. It's the best thing since sliced bread. Right now, it's still Locus and Lawmatics.
Nice, nice. I'll also give a call out to, on the kind of more enterprise side, the systems like Litify that are built on Salesforce. There is a extremely robust kind of no code workflow, and I'd say like no code and partial code flows that you can build in those systems. So, not for the faint of heart. a lot of power, if not a lot of ease, but a lot of power in those as well. So
when you mentioned Salesforce, yes, Salesforce is a beast. Like anything that's built on the Salesforce platform is going to be next level. Forget about robust. Like it's past that. It's like just you're opening yourself to a whole new world. Like it's just broadened. You've broadened and just into a different universe at that point. Yeah.
Well, as we kind of wrap up here, I kind of a final question, Casita. What would you say to the firm that's kind of deciding, hey, should I start or continue kind of DIY with these workflows? Or what are some indicators maybe that DIY is not the right move and it's time to get some help?
So I find that firms that are using like DIY type of fragmented kind of systems,
Mm-hmm.
you realize it pretty quickly, because maybe it's something where you're using something like maybe Asana, and you're using Asana to be able to keep track of like maybe the cases, but you can't find a case. You're trying to pay attention to like finding emails, and the emails are not matching to specific matters. So you're going through hundreds and thousands of emails trying to find an email associated with a specific matter. You're maybe one of those people that your leads are only kept because your virtual receptionist is keeping track of it and sending you those emails for those people that come in. So you're only getting prospects from email or from maybe the mobile app or something like that. All of those are signs that you need something more holistic where everything is all in one place, because you're not able to keep track of everything. I mean, even if it's like you having Google Drive or Dropbox, for example, and you're trying to find files and it's not like lining up with a particular matter, or maybe someone has multiple matters and you can't find the proper document for a specific matter and there's no notes and it's just chaotic. Maybe you hired a new support person and this person can't support you because your fragmented systems is like in total disarray and disorganized and chaotic, that no one can really follow along with what's going on. These are all signs that you probably should move into something more holistic. If you're not even able to find case notes, you're the one running your firm, you're about to hire an associate or a paralegal or some VA or something like that, and no one knows where anything is. It's time. It's definitely time.
Yeah.
And I meant to mention this earlier when we were talking about things living outside of the CRM. I would say that one of the things that would make sense outside of the CRM are videos, are templates, are step-by-step guides of how the CRM is set up and how you created these workflows so that if someone needs to support you and maybe update an email, for example, they know which workflows to go to be able to assist you with that. So videos would be something that you could have outside of the CRM, but depending on the system, that could be inside of the practice management system too. So yeah, videos. It's important,
Yeah,
especially as you're documenting. If you don't want to document as you're going with video, at least a step by step.
got it. Got it. How about help in terms of, someone like you coming in and like helping set up these no code workflows? Like, when is a sign that someone should do that versus continue to kind of build them themselves?
The people that usually end up contacting me the most, it's the same thing. When we're consulting, it's time. They don't have any more time. They might have at the beginning of their firm been able to delegate, or not even delegate, able to really spend time, block out time to create workflows and create processes and different things to make the firm work a certain kind of way, but maybe they're busy now. They're really busy with the log of clients and cases and things and leads and things that are currently trying to, support the firm, and they don't have that time anymore to be able to commit to creating workflows. Contact us. We'll definitely help you. If it's something where it's like you're transitioning, that's another thing that I've noticed too, people transitioning from one platform to another. And maybe in that main platform that they were using previously, they were able to spend that time, but now they're moving to a new platform and they don't even know the first thing to do. That's usually when they contact me and we're having conversations about what we're moving over. And also, that's a sweet spot, right? Because now you can fix all the things that you didn't actually like and the things that were problematic in the old system to make it not come over into the new system. So that's something that we're having a conversation about as well, to just really make sure that we're not moving over funky things that we didn't even like in the first place. If you don't have standard operating procedures or a way to be able to keep track of certain things, those people are contacting us too, because they're realizing that when it's just them and they're the only one working on the file, they're really able to keep track of things. But as you start hiring people, it becomes a little bit hard to keep up with all of that. And I've even seen where maybe they've introduced a new practice area. I've even seen where by introducing a new practice area, they don't have the time to build the system to match what they did before. So they hire us and they contact us and we help them with that as well. Yeah, it
Yeah.
usually comes down to like time and experience with the system that they're moving into.
Interesting. Interesting. Well, we're getting to the end of our time today. Casita, as always, it was great to connect. I'll give a shout out to our legal case management hub where you can find information and search and find actually some case management and CRM tools specifically designed for law firms that have no code flows. And Casita mentioned some of those today. Casita, and I'll drop the link to that in the comments here. Casita, how can anybody maybe who's struggling with no code workflows find out more from you?
They can go to the website and fill out a contact form and we'll get in touch with them. The website's simpson-assoc.com, and you could just go to the contact us section and we will support you there, or you can email us at hello@simpson-assoc.com. You can definitely check out the videos that I've been publishing on YouTube, which definitely helps people figure out what types of workflows to set up. And there's a bunch of videos talking about lead nurturing and setting up workflows for that, and retainer agreements and all the fun things that law firms typically have to do and struggle with doing because of time. So you can check us out on YouTube as well as Cass Loves Tech, CAS Loves TECH.
Awesome. Well, Casita, thanks again for the conversation today. I always learn something from these. So thank you. Thank you very much for bringing your knowledge today.
Of course, you know that I love these. They're the highlight of my Fridays. Every time we have them, I'm always super excited.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you all. Have a great weekend, and we will be back jamming again soon.
Yes, we will. Have a great day, guys.